Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out ProRevenge. Story 1. Car thief gets caught in the act, leaves her phone with tons of incriminating evidence lining her to other crimes, and now the would-be victim owns her Facebook account and is posting everything he finds. In order to avoid breaking the subreddit rules on doxing, I won't name names, but this is something that is going viral in my hometown. You can probably find it with a Google or Facebook search. A week or two ago, someone, let's call him Joe, caught someone, thief, breaking into his car. Thief got so startled that when they took off they left their belongings there, including their phone, which had no security on it. Well, because everything goes through your phone now, Joe was able to take over thief's Facebook account and put them on blast. Joe has been posting all the screenshots of messages he finds incriminating thief in a series of crimes, including a potential murder that was disguised as an OD. Joe's posts have helped link thief to storage unit break-ins, car thefts, catalytic converter theft, home break-ins, including using obituaries to steal from recently deceased people, shoplifting, drugs, and worse. Videos of her breaking into storage units. Messages about selling stolen property and drugs. There's even screenshots of search history, including how to hotwire a car, easiest car to steal, etc. This is an ongoing saga, and Reddit rules prevent me from giving too many details or links to the Facebook account, which is a shame because this is absolutely a pro-revenge worthy story, possibly even nuclear revenge. This has the potential to solve a good chunk of crimes in the area. https://i.mgur.com/o0pqjkc.jpg https://reddit.com/r/St. Louis/. Story 2. Threaten me on a dating app, watch while your life crumbles around you. Obligatory LTLFTP. Bear with me, as this might get long. I'm also on mobile, so excuse the formatting. My revenge came in two parts, one petty, and one pro. Warning: the following contains graphic details of various kinds of bodily harm. If that bothers you, skip the background and just read the revenge. The backstory. When I was 19 or 20, I'm 25 now, I met a guy on Tinder. Let's call him Brad. Brad and I didn't get off to a great start, but I had no idea how bad it was going to get. At first it just seemed we were incompatible, as he was pushy and rude and I take no shit. If it had stopped there, I wouldn't be here right now. But it didn't stop there. Once I made it clear that I found Brad repulsive and wanted nothing to do with him, his messages took a turn. He threatened to stalk, rape, kidnap and murder me, along with some gory details about gouging out my eyes and defiling my corpse. Particularly disturbing was his explicit desire to strangle me and watch the life leave my eyes. He also managed to find my home address, 3 hours away from the city we were in, and threatened to come find me. As a side note, it was my dad's house and some small part of me wanted to see exactly how badly it would turn out for him if he showed up there. Of course, I warned my dad and gave him a picture of the guy. I also took screenshots of everything he sent me. The petty. Being a young woman with no idea whether this madman would actually go to lengths to find me, I called the cops. When they came, they looked at the messages, told me it constituted terroristic threat, but also told me there wasn't much they could do unless Brad actually showed up. They did take down his details, including where he worked, which is listed in his bio. This will be important later. From what I understand, the cops went to Brad's workplace to speak to him, and he refused, so they left. Nothing ever came of it. For the second part of the petty, I found his Facebook. Again, don't put your freaking workplace on all of your social media. I snooped around and managed to find a couple of his family members. I sent them all the screenshots along with an explanation of what happened. I didn't hear back for a few days, but when I did, it was from Brad's mom. She apologized profusely on behalf of her son and told me they were driving in from Brad's hometown 3 states away to confront him. She asked me not to warn him of this in advance, and obviously I agreed. I don't know what became of this, but I hope he got a good, Southern-style ass whoopin'. Now, for the pro. A few years later, when Brad probably thought he was in the clear, something jogged my memory of what he did and I decided it was time for him to face some actual consequences. I made a Facebook post including his picture and bio, all of the screenshots, and a message warning people in our area and asking them to share it around so other women would know what they were dealing with. 2 days later, Facebook took it down but the damage had already been done. 3K shares and many messages later, all of that information had made its way to his company's Facebook page. From what I understand, they were absolutely flooded with messages about Brad and his behavior. They responded with a stock message about how they were dealing with it according to their policies. This was disheartening, as I assumed they were just going to blow it off. By this point, Brad had been working for them for at least 4 years. However, I soon learned this was not the case. Several women from his company messaged me to thank me for coming forward and exposing the kind of person they were working with. It was through one of these women that I found out what happened to good old Brad. He was called into a meeting with his boss, HR, and the CEO of the company. As a side note, this is a multinational company and the CEO is a woman. They did not take the situation lightly. Within 2 days of posting on Facebook, Brad had been fired and escorted off the premises by armed security. In the end, Brad got what he deserved and now he has a massive blank spot on his resume, as this company was his first job out of college and he can no longer get a letter of recommendation from them. As far as what became of him, I don't know. I never heard from him again, though I did get a message from his grandma telling me that what I was doing is illegal lol. TLDR, man threatens me with graphic violence on a dating app, I inform the cops and his parents, and a few years later I got him fired from his job, leaving a huge blank space on his resume that will be hard to explain. Edit, thanks for gold. Story 3. Write me up for simple mistakes to get me fired. Prepare to get fired. I told someone this story and they directed me here TLDR at the bottom. Anyways, private security was my field up until a few years ago. When I say security I don't mean mall cops, but high-end, armed trained security. I spent a few years working a job in another city away from home, but the company went under so I decided to move back home. I found a security job online. It was simple entry level, basically sitting behind a computer. You were security for the building, but monitored security for other sites the company owned across 3 states. Like small repair places, factories, places where they stored vehicles etc. So I submitted my resume. The next day a guy calls and sets up an interview, awesome because I needed to find work fast. Went to the interview, conducted by a woman I'll call Jane. She was the supervisor and the guy I talked to was her boss. Jane immediately told me I was way overqualified, which I found strange but okay. Interview went fine and I left. A few hours later she called and said I was hired and set up training days. Now I won't go through that, just wanted to give background so let's go to the good parts. She always gave me a cold shoulder. Her boss found out I have all the qualifications, licensing and training to be armed, so he had me come in armed. Nothing fancy, handgun, 3 magazines and handcuffs, she would always make. Story 4. When I wrote my dad's obituary I didn't mention my mom and exposed her years of abuse and neglect. I originally posted this in Petty Revenge but it was removed so I'm guessing it's more appropriate for here. My dad died December 1, 2022. He briefly lived with me before his passing after a long stint of being chronically ill for the past 15+ years. As his health declined he relied more on my mom for things. Prior to this she was never a great person and fully took advantage of his disability and mobility issues as he declined. For years she claimed to be separated and divorced, talking to other men on the internet. She made claims many times she was going to move away and marry someone else. In addition she took advantage of him financially. We tried every legal avenue we could find to have her kicked out, arrested, or force her out, but those attempts were met with responses that it was a civil matter and there was nothing that could be done. He made me durable POA and added me to all his accounts. This is a small portion of her abuse, but I promise her actions were no less than neglectful and exploitive. I'd tried for years to get my dad to move in with me, but he wasn't leaving the house he worked so hard to pay for. I brought him home on hospice the day after Thanksgiving and made sure his final days were the best they could be. After meeting with the funeral home to carry out his final wishes, I was told they required consent from my mother to allow me to cremate him. It was no surprise she initially told me no and only agreed after I allowed her to keep the Social Security survivor benefits, which would have been hers anyway. I wrote his obituary and left her out of it. There was not a single word or mention he'd ever been married or had a spouse. I didn't feel she deserved to be recognized or viewed as a grieving widow when she spent their marriage as a shitty spouse and person. She lost her mind and there were many questions from friends and family alike. I've spent years in therapy working through maternal narcissistic abuse and believe if she didn't want me to talk about it, she shouldn't have done it. When people asked about it, I was honest about the years of abuse my father and I endured from her. I've completely ruined the public image and victim complex she spent years creating. I might be the villain in this scenario, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Story 5. I recorded a coworker loving himself at work for eating my chocolate. Please, respectfully correct me if you see typos or anything, because English is not my first language and I want to get better at it. Also, this is my first post here. Before you get to that part, I need to clarify that yes, I have a video, but I would never post it or anything because I would get in trouble for it, and because it's a ridiculous story. It's up to you to believe it or not. Let's name everyone involved in this. John, my boyfriend. The designer. Jenny, me. I did mostly video. Sarah, another coworker. She was the best photographer there. Mario, to say that he was useless is an understatement. The reason why I'm writing this. Donna, the director's assistant. Amy, the accountant. Years ago, I worked in a government institution where I live. It wasn't a good job. It was basically volunteer paid work that was an excuse to not give employees any security a real job would offer, but I accepted because I needed the money and I had just finished college. I used to work in the communication department with other 4 co-workers. One of them was my boyfriend, still together to this day, and the youngest one, Mario, was a guy who was still in high school and got his girlfriend pregnant. His mom worked in other government institution and she got him that job. That's one of the reasons the boss couldn't fire him. We had to make designs, take pictures, do video, post on social media, check on the press when they wanted an interview with one of our bosses, and many, many other things. Mario was supposed to know some about photography and design because he told us that's what he was studying at school, but we knew later that he didn't attend school often, so he was very, very bad at almost everything, and we tried to show him how to do his work, but he was really stubborn and lazy. He never learned completely how to do the basic work. He always had problems with many people, not with us at the beginning because he acted polite. That changed later. He was disrespectful when taking pictures, he was late almost every day, and he used to post in social media about government and fight to other people who didn't agree with him. Sarah and John would talk to him about how working in a government institution you couldn't do that, it's simply not okay. However, he never changed and told his mom we were against him. Mario went to work around 2 to 4 hours a day. Usually John and Sarah would be the only ones to see him because they worked more hours than the rest of us, but he would stay in the office around 1 or 2 hours alone, or they would send him to take pictures for the same time. One day he had to take pictures of some event practice. Everyone else was off the clock. It wasn't a big event and he had been working there around a year by that time, so we thought that he could go by himself. The accountant had to go there and decided to take him with her and one co-worker of hers in her car. He was late again and that's why he couldn't go in one of the work cars. The accountant left her purse open in that space that's in the middle of the driver and the CO driver's seats. When they went back to the office, she noticed her wallet disappeared. She instantly knew that had to be Mario, the one who took it. They began to search his office and found nothing. Somebody found the wallet under the vending machine. At first, we took his side because they admitted that never found anything and because it wasn't right to search in our office without anybody else there, mostly because we had photography equipment that wasn't exactly cheap. However, when we knew how the wallet was found and when we talked to him, we knew it was him. More money and stuff disappeared when he was there, but nobody could prove he took them. The bosses didn't want to create a scandal, so they let it happen. Our office used to be the conference room, so it was attached to the kitchen. And the director had beverages there for visits. We could use the kitchen but not touch those beverages, but Mario couldn't even get in there. Anyway, the sodas began to disappear and the director's assistant complained to us. We said we didn't take them and she wouldn't believe us. One day John noticed that our door to the kitchen was broken and that you could take the lock easily. With a pencil, we used to find pencils without tips, he took it inside the mechanism and then the door opened. It took its time, but he proved that Mario was getting in the kitchen when nobody else was there. However, that didn't make a difference and nothing was done, not even talking to him. One day, John and me were on our way to work, but I didn't have breakfast, so we stopped at a store. I bought something to eat and a chocolate. I put it inside the fridge and forgot about it. The next day I remembered about it and went to check, it wasn't there and I got mad. John and I checked the trash can, it was clean and empty and we just watched, and we found just little pieces of that chocolate. So we asked for a video camera that someone offered us before. It could record for long hours. I want to clarify at this point that we didn't take the decision of everything you are about to read just because of a chocolate. The chocolate was the last straw. For like a year we had to put up with our bosses scolding us because of him. He never wanted to learn how to do his job and things were always disappearing, including personal things. The first day, Donna left money in one of her drawers and left it slightly open so he could see the money. We put the camera in other building that was in front of ours. We had big windows, floor to ceiling, and you could watch Donna's desk and the hallway. Some lady's office, our door, and the director's office. The other building just had empty offices then but had big curtains, that's why Mario couldn't see the camera. We went home that day and left the camera recording. The next day there was the money, maybe because we left one billet equivalent to $5 and he knew we would know he took it. I checked the camera and watched him getting in the lady's office. I don't know what she did there, and he took some cookies from her office, but he looked suspicious. Again, with this we couldn't do much, so that night John found an old cell phone that could record for 2 hours. The next day, Donna left the $5 again, but now she left $1 bills and the same drawer slightly open. We placed the camera in the other building and John disguised his old cell phone with a binder and some sticky tape. That day he got a loan for a little less than 2 hours and left. John and me had a car, so we were in mall clothes there, just killing time, and then we went back. For the cell phone. OMG. John watched a little bit of the video before the battery died. He said that he saw something weird but wasn't sure because the screen was very damaged and we were in the car. I was driving. When we got in John's house, we could watch everything he had done inside our office. Not the other camera because the building was closed and we didn't have access to it until the next day. First, we saw him getting in the office, watching some YouTube, everything normal, then he went out and when he came back we saw him putting something in his pocket but it wasn't clear what. Then we saw how easily he took a pencil, opened the kitchen's door, and took something like a yogurt, then he closed the door. Though we could hear that he was watching something like a channel that's very famous in our country. But then we heard noises, yeah, that kind of noises. We were supposed to have blocked that kind of videos and websites. I mean, those were government offices and the IT team had checked recently everything. But some way he was watching porn on the computer I used to work. And if you are thinking if he did what you are thinking, the answer is yes. Thanks God the cell phone didn't record his hands, but you could see his shoulder moving and him licking his finger. I know, very disgusting. Well, he ended and didn't even wash his hands. I was so shocked and disgusted when I saw that I wanted to cry. The next day, the first thing I did was to call the IT department to clean the computer. we didn't say why because of obvious reasons. John took the camera and we could watch him when he went out of the office and checked carefully if somebody was around. Then he went to Donna's desk and took $1, he went inside the woman's office and took something but we couldn't see what. Then he went into our office. We called Donna to our office and she was shocked. Then Sarah watched the video as soon as she got there. Then the director arrived and we asked him and Amy to go to our office. We showed them the video. The director was very young and trusted us a lot, so he didn't hold his laughter when the self-love pat began. Amy was a young and delicate woman, so she just turned around and covered her eyes while letting a small scream out. We finally get the proof needed to fire him. When he got to work they didn't let him in. I don't know how the conversations went, but I know some of the words exchanged. Amy, you stole again and we told you, and last time we told you it was your last chance. Mario, raising his voice, I didn't do anything. You're always blaming me. Amy, we have proof. Mario, you don't have anything. All of you hate me. Amy, don't make me show you. Mario, well, show me. Amy called our office. John, could you bring the videos? John, the first one, the video camera one, or the second, the cell phone one? Amy, the second one. When he heard that, he was defeated and very nervous. John took his time downloading the video into his computer because it was in mine and went to the office. Amy was talking to Mario. John told me he was about to show him the video and then he asked Mario. John, Mario, do you really want to watch this video? Mario, he couldn't even watch John in the eyes. No, I don't want. Amy, play at least the first video for him. John, I don't have that one, let me go for it. I admit that I just wanted to see Mario's face, so I went to that office to give them an USB, but he didn't really watch me. Amy, to John and me, okay, thank you, that's gonna be all. And we left the office. We know she said something like, Amy, after playing the video, you always said it was us and even told your mom that we wanted to get you in trouble all the time. You even told really bad things about this place. You are fired and we don't ever want to hear about you complaining to anybody else in the central, or we're going to show these 2 videos to your mom. And he just left. Then we heard that he actually told lies to her mom, like, Mario, they hated me and told lies to make them fire me. But no one ever told his mom, not that I know. Well, this story made me realize that someone could be recording me anywhere I go. I mean, even I did it to someone. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.